Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a great show as we head into the Thanksgiving holiday. First, shocking revelations in the blended family dynamics of that cruise ship homicide probe. We've got the LAPD rejecting TMZ's report of the frozen and decapitated body in the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Arizona's star prosecutor trades, her career for a Poshmark of $40,000 in jewelry mixed up. A beer run dispute to Olympic-level arson in a stunning display of chivalry. We have this day in legal history, our legal quote of the day, and our dumb criminal. Hey, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Hit the little bell below. Leave me a comment, and make sure you check us out on any of your favorite podcasting apps. All right. Before we get to the docket today, let me remind you to go to crimetalksearch.com. Let me tell you a real story about somebody I know. They said, hey, want to check somebody out, somebody coming into their family's life. Heard you talk about this Crime Talk search. Can we use it? So, of course, I typed in my password, looked up the name, found out many things about this particular individual that was going to be coming into this person's life. All right, go check it out. If you have any doubts, if you have somebody, your kids are dating somebody and they want to have somebody coming into their life. Maybe you got the babysitter coming into your life. The neighbors just seem too good to be true. Go check them out. Go to crimetalksearch.com. Get that background report done literally while you wait with more information than you ever anticipate getting about a particular individual. It'll give you peace of mind. Go to crimetalksearch.com. You'll be happy you did. All right, let me remind you also, go check out the Crime Talk merch. The sweatshirts that we introduced yesterday, the limited edition Crime Talk sweatshirts. Okay, limited edition means like limited quantity. And they're going at a very reasonable price. They're, lack of a better term, the limited quantity is already flying off the shelves. So hit the link below, go check it out before they're gone. Because once they're gone, we're not sure they're going to do it again. Because, hey, it's a limited edition. It's our fall collection, so to speak. Go to Crime Talk, go to the link below and get your Crime Talk merch. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for Wednesday, November 26th, 2025, the day before Thanksgiving. And we've got some shocking revelations on that whole cruise ship murder. So in a case that has captivated the nation, new details from family court records have shed some light on the turbulent dynamics within the blended household of an 18-year-old Florida high school senior whose death aboard a Carnival cruise ship was officially ruled a homicide. So Anna Kepner, a vibrant cheerleader from Titusville, was discovered deceased on November 7th of this year during a family vacation on the Carnival Horizon. Now, police, led by the FBI, have identified the 16-year-old stepbrother as the primary suspect, prompting a bit of a deeper examination of the family's fractured relationships. So the Miami-Dade Medical Examiner's Office confirmed that Kepner's cause of death as mechanical asphyxia, indicating she was strangled by external pressure, possibly an arm applied across the neck, while the vessel was in international water en route from Mexico to Florida. Toxicology reports revealed no presence of drugs or alcohol in the deceased young woman's system, and there's no indication of any type of sexual assault either, which is good. Now, the teen's body was found concealed beneath a bed in the cabin that she shared with her stepbrother and a 14-year-old half-brother, wrapped in a blanket and obscured by life vests. So Kepner, known among friends and family for her outgoing personality and her academic excellence, embarked on the 6-day Caribbean itinerary with her father, Christopher Kepner, the stepmother, Chantel Hudson Kepner, paternal grandparents, Barbara and Jeff Kepner, and several siblings and step-siblings. The group had anticipated, obviously, a joyous reunion, but tragedy struck on the evening of November 6. Now, sources close to the investigation report that Kepner retired to the cabin early, citing she didn't feel well. And while her 14-year-old half-brother explored the ship, taking photographs. Upon his return, he assumed she was elsewhere and went to sleep. The alarm was raised the following morning when the family noticed her absence during breakfast. A public announcement alerted passengers to a medical emergency, drawing Christopher Kepner to the cabin where housekeeping staff had just uncovered the grim discovery. Surveillance footage and keycard logs reportedly show the stepbrother as the only individual entering and exiting the room during the critical period, according to family statements provided to investigators. Now, the Carnival Horizon docked in Miami as scheduled on November 8th, where FBI agents boarded to secure evidence, obviously, and the Carnival Cruise Line has affirmed its full cooperation with federal authorities, emphasizing that no ongoing threat exists to the passengers on subsequent voyages. Now, the 16-year-old stepbrother was briefly hospitalized for psychiatric evaluation upon arrival before being released back to relatives pending further investigation. But there's been some revelations from some court filings, all right? A little bit of resistance and turmoil, you could say. So these court records from ongoing custody disputes have unveiled a particularly disturbing incident involving the suspect's older brother, 18-year-old Andrew Hudson, revealing some deep-seated resistance to the family's reconfiguration. In April of 2024, as Chantel Hudson Kepner sought judicial approval to relocate her 3 children from Brooksville to Titusville following her divorce from Thomas Hudson, Andrew allegedly attempted to leap from her moving vehicle to avoid the transition. Now, Hudson Kepner attributed the episode to Andrew's distress over leaving his girlfriend, necessitating physical restraints to prevent harm. Now, Thomas Hudson countered with allegations of physical abuse against Andrew, though a protective order request was ultimately denied. Now, Andrew was permitted to reside with his father while his younger siblings, including the 16-year-old suspect and a 9-year-old, joined the Kepner household near Cape Canaveral. Notably, Andrew did not participate in this cruise, having maintained estrangement from his mother since that incident. Now, these filings, part of a protracted custody battle marked by mutual accusations of harassment, non-payment of support, and domestic violence claims, paint a picture of acrimony. Now, Hudson Kepner recently alleged an open investigation by the Florida Department of Children and Families into Thomas Hudson's conduct towards the younger children. Parallel proceedings from Christopher Kepner's 2023 divorce from Tabitha Kepner, Anna's de facto maternal figure despite not being her biological mother, included assertions of a history of physical and mental abuse, though a shared custody arrangement was ultimately mediated. The blended family resided in a modest 3-bedroom home valued at approximately $300,000, where Anna navigated life with her father, stepmother, and 4 other children. Social media posts from Hudson Kepner depicted a seemingly warm rapport with Anna, including a June 2025 tribute celebrating her 18th birthday with a montage of shared moments. Now, allegations of some inappropriate conduct has also come about. Compounding the family's challenges, a former boyfriend of Anna, a young man by the name of Josh T.E.W., recounted a troubling FaceTime interaction from approximately 9 months prior, during which he allegedly witnessed the stepbrother attempting to position himself atop her while she slept. Now, Tu claimed Anna confided in him about her fear, citing new threats from the boy should she disclose the incident. Now, she reportedly expressed unease with the rapid integration of her step relatives, describing Hudson Kepner as controlling and noting the brevity of her father's relationship with the stepmother. To cope, Anna allegedly resorted to sleeping in communal areas or a friend's house. Now, Kepner's biological mother, Heather Wright, who separated from Christopher when Anna was 4 and had limited contact thereafter, voiced profound grief and frustration in the recent interviews. Now, learning of her death via online searches, Wright criticized the cabin assignment, questioned why her daughter shared quarters with the suspect. She accused her ex-partner of excluding her from the obituary and the memorial service held on November 20th. Now, the Grove at the Grove Church in Titusville, attended by hundreds in bright attire to honor Anna's spirit, forcing her to attend covertly amid threats of arrest over unpaid child support. Now, she says, hey, this was my daughter. I loved her with all my heart and soul. And she said she invoked the lyrics of Jelly Roll's I'm Not Okay to articulate her sorrow. So where do we go from here? Anna's paternal grandparents, Barbara and Jeff Kepner, described the step-siblings as two peas in a pod prior to this incident, insisting the boy appeared devastated upon the discovery, unable to speak, and claiming no recollection of the events. Barbara expressed a sense of dual loss, mourning both her granddaughter, poised for high school graduation and enlisting in the Navy, and the stepchildren now ensnared in suspicion. So the FBI investigation remains active with no charges filed to date. A gag order request in the Hudson Kepner custody case filed November 21st seeks to shield the proceedings from public scrutiny, citing the need to protect the inquiry. A hearing is slated for December 5th. And as the family grapples with unimaginable loss, this tragedy obviously underscores the complexity of blended households and the imperative for vigilance in fostering safe environments for young people. Anyway, we'll bring you new information as it becomes available. Tragedy all around. Nobody wins. It's going to get ugly from here. But you notice how people come out of the woodwork for their 15 minutes of fame? I mean, I understand this is your daughter, but you haven't been in her life since she's 4. She's now 18, 14 years, and all of a sudden now you want to reach all the headlines. I don't know. I mean, my heart goes out to her. Her daughter's deceased. But it's kind of one of those things when everybody shows up when tragedy happens in a courtroom and everybody's here to support the person. But like, where were you people when people were out doing bad things? I'm not saying this young lady did anything wrong, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, where were you during all those other times? Anyway, next on the docket, the LAPD rejects reports of the frozen and decapitated body of Celeste Rivas. So the Los Angeles Police Department has issued an unusual public rebuttal to media coverage surrounding the ongoing investigation into the death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose remains were discovered back on September 8th of this year inside the trunk of a Tesla registered to recording artist David, spelled with a 4. Now, in a statement released Tuesday by the Robbery Homicide Division, police described certain published details as inaccurate and misleading. The department specifically disputed weekend reports from TMZ that alleged the teenager's body showed signs of having been partially frozen and was in an advanced state of deterioration, potentially leading to the undetermined cause of death. LAPD categorically stated, quote, the body of Celeste Rivas was not frozen when it was discovered on September 8th of 2025, end quote. Officials also denied separate claims that the victim had been decapitated. Now, the department further defended its decision to seek a temporary protective order sealing portions of the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's file. According to the LAPD, the measure is intended to safeguard investigative leads by ensuring sensitive information reaches detectives before it is released publicly, rather than to restrict overall transparency. Now, the Los Angeles County Chief of Police and the medical examiner have publicly opposed the sealing order, reaffirming a commitment to openness in the case. Meanwhile, TMZ has maintained its reporting, citing a source affiliated with the medical examiner's office who insists the body exhibited evidence of freezing. The outlet also referenced an internal record indicating that fingerprinting was not possible because the victim's fingerprints were described as waterlogged, a detail that has not yet been addressed by either the LAPD or the medical examiner. Now, authorities confirmed one element previously reported in the media. David, spelled with a 4, did travel to the Santa Barbara area earlier in 2025, and detectives declined to elaborate on the purpose or duration of that trip, noting only that it remains part of the active investigation and its significance has not been established. Now remember, no arrests have been made in connection with this case. The LAPD has stressed that pending the official determination of cause and manner of death by the medical examiner is not yet clear whether any criminal conduct occurred beyond the concealment of the body. Now, the department acknowledged the ongoing institutional friction between the LAPD and the county medical examiner's office, a long-standing issue that has surfaced periodically in high-profile cases. Now, remember, representatives for David have stated that the artist is fully cooperating with investigators, and the singer himself has made no public comments since the discovery of the remains. So, ladies and gentlemen, I get the police need to have a certain amount of protection of their investigation. But, it's kind of like how the press secretary gets up every day and takes questions from the media at the White House. Why should the police department not do the same and say, this is what we know, this is what we can confirm? Okay, the information is going to come out. Why does the government think that they should not tell the citizenry what is going on in their city, their neighborhood, their state? It's not going to affect integrity of the case. If there's some reason, they're holding out back some information, maybe on an ID, I get that. But facts are the facts. And although many, many people follow lots of crime stuff, lots of true crime stories, most of the people in the world do not. You will find when you go to a jury trial and you select the jury during voir dire, and you think, wow, this is a high profile case. People have heard a lot about it. None of them have. They don't follow the news. And so I just don't understand the sense of secrecy. The government works for us. Unless it is some sort of national security, the people have a right to know what the heck is going on in their community. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know. Next, we got some crime scene images from that death of the Arizona toddler left in the hot car. So crime scene photographs and police reports recently made public provide additional details into the July 9th, 2024 death of 2-year-old Parker Schultz, who succumbed to heat-related causes after being left unattended in a vehicle during extreme temperatures. Now, this incident occurred back at the family's residence in Marana, a suburb of Tucson, where the outdoor temperature reached 109 degrees Fahrenheit. So Parker Schultz was secured in a forward-facing Chico car seat in the rear of a 2023 Acura MDX parked in the driveway. Now, according to the Marana Police Department records, the vehicle's interior temperature rose rapidly after the engine, initially left running with the air conditioning activated, automatically shut off approximately 20 minutes later. Investigative materials document that the surface temperature of the car seat reached 149.1 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, now photographs show small handprints on the interior of the rear driver's side window positioned near the child's seat. Additional items visible in the vehicle include a pink-cased iPad and a pair of child-sized pink sandals on the floorboard. Now, Parker Schultz had been left in the vehicle for approximately 3 hours while her father, Christopher Schultz, remained inside the air-conditioned residence. Police reports indicate he consumed alcohol, played video games on a PlayStation 5, and viewed some adult content during that period while his daughter is succumbing to heat exhaustion. Anyway, the family's garage, typically used for the parking of the Acura, was occupied by a recently purchased Peloton treadmill, necessitating the vehicle to be left in the driveway, approximately 23 feet from the front entrance. Well, the child was discovered shortly after 4 p.m. when her mother, Dr. Erica Schultz, an anesthesiologist at Banner University Medical Center in Tucson, returned home from work. Dr. Schultz initiated CPR after carrying the child indoors, and emergency responders continued resuscitation efforts. Parker Schultz was pronounced deceased at the same medical facility at 4:58 p.m. Well, these released images also depict a pink floral dress sized 3T that had been cut open by paramedics during the resuscitation attempts, and the garment was found on the kitchen floor. Officers noted in reports that the evidence collection required periodic breaks in air-conditioned vehicles and hydration measures due to the intense heat. Now, Christopher Schultz initially informed investigators that he believed the child had entered the home with him and was playing with her siblings. Phone records and security footage later revealed he had purchased and consumed beer earlier that day, contrary to statements from family members suggesting he had ceased alcohol use months prior. And in September of 2025, Christopher Schultz entered a guilty plea to second-degree murder, resulting in a stipulated sentence of 20 to 30 years in prison without the possibility of parole. He had previously rejected a plea offer that would have capped incarceration at 10 years. Schultz was permitted to remain on bail until his scheduled surrender date on November 5th. And on November 5th, Christopher Schultz was found deceased in a vehicle parked inside a garage as a result of carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, the case drew a lot of attention due to the risks associated with, vehicular heat exposure, particularly for young children secured in safety seats. Now, police reports include accounts from the couple's two older daughters describing the moment the child's location was realized and the subsequent emergency response. Tragic situation, ladies and gentlemen. Tragic situation indeed. Next on the docket. Hey, couple charged with murder for tossing their neighbor over the balcony. In what police described as a completely unprovoked act of violence, an Elizabethtown man has died after being hurled from a second-story balcony, and the couple accused of throwing him now face murder charges. Bobby Pennington, a well-liked resident of the apartment complex, was found in cardiac arrest on November 13th. First responders were initially told he had simply fallen. Pennington was rushed first to the local hospital and then airlifted to the University of Louisville hospital in connection with his conditions. He succumbed to his injuries 4 days later on November 17th. And neighbors remembered Pennington as a nice, friendly guy who pedaled around the complex on his bike, always ready with a quick wave. He never bothered a soul, apparently. And everybody wants to know just why. Why would anyone do something like this? Well, according to the Elizabethtown Police Department, the answer appears to be, for no reason at all. Investigators say that Sean and Nancy Durbin, also residents of the same complex, grabbed Pennington and threw him over a roughly 12-foot balcony. Neither suspect has offered any explanation for the attack, and police emphasize that Pennington had done nothing to provoke the tossing of him over the balcony. There's zero ownership, zero remorse, zero motive that anyone can find, said the police spokesman Chris Denham. Now, this wasn't a fight that got out of hand. This was two people deciding, apparently on a whim, to end another human being's life. The Durbins were initially arrested and charged with first-degree assault. Sean Durbin also picked up 2 additional counts of third-degree assault after allegedly arresting officers because evidently the evening wasn't chaotic enough. And then on November 20th, a Hardin County grand jury upgraded the charges significantly. Sean Durbin now faces 2 counts of first-degree assault and complicity to commit homicide, while Nancy Durbin is charged with complicity to commit homicide. Both remain in custody at the Hardin County Detention Center there in Kentucky as the case moves forward. Now, in this quiet apartment complex where the worst drama is usually a loud neighbor or a misplaced parking spot, residents are left grappling with the surreal brutality of the killing, by all accounts, that had no purpose whatsoever. Next on the docket, an Arizona prosecutor trades her career, for $40,000 in jewelry, or apparently a big mix-up. So in a twist that could have been scripted for a courtroom drama, one of Arizona's most polished prosecutors has discovered that some packages really are too good to be true, and that keeping them can turn a glittering career into a cubic zirconia overnight. Please meet Vanessa Daly. She's 49 and until recently a high-flying division chief in the Arizona Attorney General's office, where colleagues knew her professionally as Vanessa Hickman. And she now stands accused of treating an errant $40,000 jewelry shipment like her own personal Black Friday preview. Police say the parcel, intended for a neighbor in her upscale Phoenix condominium complex, arrived at Daly's door on May 31st. What followed, according to investigators, was less finders keepers and more, federal felony. Postal inspectors allege that Daly ignored 9 separate attempts to retrieve the missed-delivered box, explaining to investigators that her bustling side hustle on luxury resale site Poshmark meant her doorstep resembled a small logistical hub. Eventually, after roughly a month of polite persistence and presumably some strongly worded certified letters, Daly relinquished the package. One small detail, however, raised some eyebrows. The box returned looking as though it had auditioned for a role in a mummy movie, wrapped in enough tape to secure a small satellite. The intended recipient, eagerly awaiting gifts from a friend in Florida, opened the parcel only to discover that a $2,400 diamond bracelet from Costco had mysteriously vanished like a magician's rabbit with better taste in accessories. Detectives soon uncovered photographs showing the original shipping label had been peeled away, and in what prosecutors are calling the most egregious smoking receipt, a nearly identical diamond bracelet appeared on Daly's Poshmark closet. Listed initially for $1,947, it eventually sold for $750, a discount too steep. Investigators noted it was consistent with someone who urgently needed it gone before the postal police knocked again. So the dramatic undervaluing is consistent with the sale of stolen property, one inspector dryly observed in some court filings, in the kind of understatement usually reserved for British period dramas. And then on November 13th, Daly was quietly placed on leave from the Attorney General's office. 6 days later, postal inspectors arrived with handcuffs instead of another certified letter. She was booked and released the next day, and on Monday, charged by the Maricopa County Attorney's Office with 1 count of felony theft. Prosecutors are also weighing a more serious charge of trafficking in stolen property, which carries the poetic justice of potentially being prosecuted by the very office Daly once helped lead. And for those keeping score at home, this is not Daly's first brush with accusations of some sticky fingers. In 2023, while serving as a city attorney for Peoria, she took a sudden leave of absence amid a lawsuit claiming she improperly pocketed $139,000 in taxpayer-funded severance. Daly countersued. The court dismissed the case faster than a rejected Poshmark offer. A spokesperson for the Attorney General, Chris Mays, issued a statement that managed to sound both diplomatic and devastating all at the same time. The allegations against Ms. Hickman are serious for any state employee, particularly someone in a leadership position. Reached for comment, Daly declined through counsel, and when a local television crew knocked on her condo door, she answered only long enough to prove that no comment can be delivered with the same poised silence once reserved for cross-examining witnesses. So, from upholding justice to allegedly upselling jewelry, Vanessa Daly's fall from grace serves as a sparkling reminder. In Arizona, at least, the long arm of the law apparently wears a smartwatch, checks tracking numbers religiously, and has an excellent eye for discounted diamonds. Next on the docket, a beer run dispute. Well, let's just say it got a little hot. In what experts are already calling the most romantic gesture of 2025, 56-year-old Patrick Tyson of Silva allegedly demonstrated his unwavering commitment to hydration by attempting to transform a woman into a human tiki torch after she tragically failed to fetch him a cold beer. So, according to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, Mr. Tyson, clearly a man who believes foreplay should involve flammable liquids, reportedly doused the victim, her couch, and the surrounding carpet with rubbing alcohol on November 21st before striking a match. Because nothing says I value you quite like threatening to barbecue someone over a domestic beer. She wouldn't get me a beer, so naturally I decided to light her on fire, Tyson presumably explained to officers in a sentence that will be taught in conflict resolution classes for centuries as what not to do in a relationship. Miraculously, the woman escaped without injury, though her shirt and couch were not so lucky. The evening's festivals concluded with Tyson allegedly hurling an object at the stove hard enough to shatter it, because when you're already facing attempted murder and arson charges, why not toss a little property destruction in for the trifecta? Well, the assistant police chief, Robbie Carter, who has surely seen everything at this point, confirmed the sequence of events in a weary tone, as if questioning his life choices. Well, Mr. Tyson now faces felony assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, first-degree arson, misdemeanor assault on a female, and injury to personal property, charges that collectively carry more weight than his apparent emotional maturity. He is currently being held in the Jackson County Jail on a modest $750,000 bond, giving him ample time to reflect on whether next time he's thirsty, he might consider, we don't know, getting the beer himself like a functioning adult. Next time he's thirsty, he might consider, we don't know, getting the old beer himself like a functioning adult. Well, his court appearance is scheduled for December 1st, where he is expected to argue that the real victim here is the unquenched thirst. Romance, it seems, is not dead in Silva. It's just extremely flammable. Next on the docket, this day in legal history, November 26, 1789. At the request of Congress, President George Washington issued a proclamation naming November 26, 1789 as a national day of public thanksgiving and prayer, the first Thanksgiving celebrated under the United States Constitution and an early example of nationwide presidential proclamations. Then, not to be outdone, November 26, 1863, the first Thanksgiving under Lincoln's wartime proclamation. Following his October 3, 1863 proclamation, President Abraham Lincoln newly established National Thanksgiving was first observed on Thursday, November 26, 1863, helping cement the tradition of a late November federal holiday during the Civil War. On November 26, 1883, there was oral argument in Ex parte Crow Dog. Never heard of that one, right? Well, let me tell you what it's about. The Supreme Court heard argument in Ex parte Crow Dog involving a Lakota man prosecuted in federal court after his tribe had already resolved a homicide internally. The court later ruled federal courts lacked jurisdiction, a landmark in tribal sovereignty that spurred Congress to pass the Major Crimes Act of 1885, basically saying that if something took place on a reservation, well, we're going to prosecute you in federal court. Can't have these tribes resolving these matters internally. Nope, we got to do it for them. And then on November 26, 1933, a vigilante lynching in San Jose, California. That's right. A huge mob stormed the Santa Clara County Jail in San Jose, seizing Thomas Thurmond and John Holmes, suspects in the kidnapping and murder of Brooke Hart, and lynched them without trial. Obviously, an infamous breakdown of due process that fueled debates over lynching and mob justice in America. How about a quote of the day? Justice is the constant and perpetual will to render to every man his due. Domitus Ulpian, 170 BC. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. A principle first articulated nearly 2 millennia ago, yet still relevant in courtrooms where the only thing more enduring than the ideal itself is the creativity of those who try to evade it. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. We always think about, oh my gosh, this is so new. We've never dealt with it before. Man has been dealing with these issues for thousands of years. Crime, what to do with it? Do we give people due process? How do we punish them? Are they redeemable? Should they go away? Should they be eliminated? These issues have been going on for thousands of years. And everyone tries to put a new twist on it, but the reality of it is, these are nothing new. These have been solved for thousands of years, and, well, they're going to go on for thousands of years or as long as we're here. Let's just put it that way. And finally, our dumb criminal of the day. If at first you don't succeed, try again. In a move that can only be described as nostalgia gone catastrophically wrong, a 43-year-old man by the name of Christopher McKay has been crowned today's undisputed dumb criminal of the day for attempting to rob the exact same Wells Fargo branch that sent him to federal prison for the better part of a decade. So on Thursday morning, just before 10 a.m., McKay allegedly burst into the Fort Worth bank, announced he was armed with a handgun, and demanded cash from startled employees. Now, sources close to the situation report that the teller's reaction was less terrified, compliance, and more, wait, aren't you that guy from 2016? The heist lasted approximately as long as it took everyone in the lobby to realize they were witnessing a live action sequel that nobody asked for. McKay fled empty-handed on foot, presumably because getting away drivers have standards. Police located him a short distance away, where he was reportedly experiencing some fentanyl withdrawal, so severe that the ambulance was summoned to the arrest scene. Adding medical drama to what was already peak performance art in the genre of self-sabotage. Anyway, detectives quickly informed McKay's prior relationship with the branch. 9 years earlier, he had successfully robbed the same location, was promptly apprehended, and spent the next 7 years as a guest in the federal prison system. One might assume 7 years in custody would provide ample time for reflection, career counseling, or at least updated one's resume. Instead, McKay appears to have interpreted his sentence as merely a 9-year cooling off period before returning to his favorite establishment, like a disgruntled Yelp reviewer who keeps giving the same restaurant 1 star and yet insists on dining there again. McKay now faces new charges of aggravated robbery on top of the existing local warrants, and he was booked into the Tarrant County Jail with bond set at $150,000, ensuring he will have plenty of additional time to contemplate whether customer loyalty programs are truly worth it. Congratulations, Mr. McKay. Your unwavering commitment to brand consistency in the face of overwhelming evidence that this particular Wells Fargo is simply not that into you has earned you today's Dumb Criminal of the Day crown. May your next decade be filled with better decisions, or very least, a map to a different bank. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you today. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week. And remember, the Constitution matters.